When we're feeling something, very often what happens, something happens, a person feels, let's say, angry. When a person is angry, think about what a person, well, let's take sadness instead. Anger is just a little bit messier. When a person is sad, picture someone who is sad. In your mind, you're going to see on their face, they look sad, they might be crying. Very often, people who feel sadness inside don't even realize it. They just get dysregulated by it. They get snappy, they get irritable, they start shouting and behaving in ways that they'd rather not behave because there's some sort of negative emotion going on and they're not even aware of what it is consciously. The moment a person stops and says, hang on a second, what's going on inside? What do I feel? What does it feel like inside of me? Where do I feel that? What does it feel like? What's the story, the emotion associated with that sensation in my body? It's like, oh, there's sadness. And then just, when we become aware that there's sadness inside, just be the source of support and connection that's there with the sadness, to allow that sadness to be. The same way that we would do it for another person, we can do it for that part of ourselves inside. And a person who does that can go from being sad to feeling sadness, and they're very different things. A person can carry enormous, deep, heavy sadness inside and still be functional, still be able to experience joy at the same time. If we carry sadness inside, if we feel sadness inside and then we can hold the space for that sadness, we can also feel joy. We can't be sad and be happy at the same time. But we can have them both inside at the same time. And learning this role, learning to do what Yosef did for Binyamin and what Binyamin did for Yosef, for those parts of ourselves. If we stop sometimes and say, hang on a second, why am I behaving the way that I'm behaving? What's going on? And slow down and just take a few deep, slow breaths and just really try to tune into what's going on. Oh, I'm feeling... And a very powerful way to do this is to start with the sensation before the emotion. What do I feel in my body? What does it feel like? What's going on? What's the emotion? Oh, I'm feeling frustration about this and this thing that happened. I'm feeling sadness about this and this thing. And then to allow that to be, to hold space for that part of ourselves that feels sad, that feels grief, that feels hurt. When someone says something and we, feel hurt by what they said, it can happen all the time, whether the person meant to or not. It's very common that people just go on and they get cranky and the rest of the day is ruined because someone said something that hurt them. There's no need to go around the rest of the day cranky because someone said something that hurt them. That doesn't mean, oh, I don't care, it didn't really hurt me, I'm super tough, because that's not real. But what a person can do is say, oh, you know what? That was really hurtful. And acknowledge the fact that there is pain, that there is hurt, that there is offense that was taken in the person, and then hold space for that part of themselves, that part of ourselves, and acknowledge and allow it to feel hurt, then we can continue being the person who has that part of ourselves inside that feels hurt instead of becoming a hurt person. This is not minimizing the hurt, and the irony is, or the counterintuitive thing is, that when we do this, we'll find that emotions will actually become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time. The more that we can hold an emotion inside rather than be the emotion, the bigger they start to get. And they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Because for a person who has become their emotion, if that emotion is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it's not going to work. But if that emotion, if we can hold it inside of ourselves and still be functional, and still be able to maybe feel joy at the same time as we feel a negative emotion, then what happens is the emotion can get bigger and bigger, and it can start to express itself more and more and more and more, and we'll feel emotions getting bigger and bigger and heavier over time, at the same time as we can start to appreciate the beauty in these things because they're part of life, and life is beautiful.